One constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Buckington. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back to throw. There's a left back. A Kennedy, I believe. The Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant. The Giants won the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings long drive left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody win. Foul territory. Detroit wins. Here's the pitch to Willie. Here's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. This is goodbye. One out.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a chance. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey! Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Friday.
It is another beautiful day here in the upstate of South Carolina. Sun is shining. We're going to get maybe to 80 degrees today.
The wind was blowing brilliantly this morning.
Yeah.
Loved it.
After a first part of the week that still had some summer hanging on to it, we got a weekend that's going to start to, at least a little, lend itself towards more of a fall feel. The stadium here at Furman is looking as good as it has looked in a long, long time. ETSU comes into town tomorrow, and we are ready for some college football here around the conference and around the country. I, of course, am Dan Scott. That is Forrest Stulting. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing well, Dan. Some good baseball last night. Had some really good Chinese food as well, so I was in tip-top shape last night. So, how about yourself?
Yeah, it was fine. Had a nice dinner out with the wife last night. Had a meeting at church after that, and got home late, but it was a fulfilling late, and we had a good time. And up and at it bright and early this morning, and ready to take on another day.
Oh, absolutely, man.
We have a good show lined up for you today. We try to have a good show for you every day. Some will say that's up for debate. We try not to listen to those people. But on today's show, in the middle segment, we'll visit with the voice of East Tennessee State, our buddy Jay Sandos. This is a Buccaneer club that kind of got people's attention last week with a comeback win, down 10 points in the fourth quarter, and forced overtime, beat Mercer 26-23. Now, they almost beat Mercer a year ago, got them last week, and this was a week after probably playing the Citadel a lot closer than most people anticipated they would. So we're going to talk to Jay about this rejuvenation of the Buccaneer program that, you recall, after 2003 was shut down and only began playing competitively again 3 seasons ago, or actually
2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the third year.
Season. Yep.
So we'll talk to Jay about that, college football picks, upset alerts, all of those good things throughout the course of today's show. Obviously, we'll have trivia. We'll have some on this date stuff. I got to say, I don't know if he's still tuned in or not, but I was pleasantly surprised when we were going through the show setup, as soon as we kicked the video live, to see Warren Cromartie pop in. And I know for those of you of a certain age, you know exactly who I'm talking about. I had to fill in my young friend here as to who Cromartie was. Cromartie was part of a fantastic outfield with the Montreal Expos back in the late 70s and into the early 80s. Was Cromartie, Ellis Valentine, and a guy named Andre Dawson.
I've heard of him, Dan.
That made up that outfield. Cromartie played with the Expos for a number of years, then went to Japan, had a fantastic career there, and after that was over, wrote a book called Slugging It Out in Japan about his experience in playing in Tokyo for the Giants under a manager named Sadahara Oh, who happens to be the biggest legend in all of Japanese baseball. It's a wildly entertaining book, and it gives a really good insight into what American players, at least in that era, had to deal with when they went to play in the Japanese professional leagues. I was very happy to see Warren Cromartie pop in. So if you're still listening and still watching, that brought back some good memories of a baseball youth childhood, so to speak, growing up. So anyway, want to get to the trivia question?
Let's do some Furman news and notes.
Yeah, let's do that first.
It's another stacked weekend for the Paladins. The women's soccer team, they will play at Mercer Friday, then travel to Charleston to face the Citadel. Volleyball will host ETSU and Chattanooga Friday and Saturday, respectively. The cross-country team, they will travel to Louisville, Kentucky for the Louisville Invitational. Men's tennis will compete in 2 events, Friday to Sunday. They'll be at the Commodore Scramble in Nashville, Tennessee, and the Belton Invitational in Belton Honey Path, South Carolina. The men's soccer team will travel to Greensboro to face the Spartans Saturday at 7 o'clock. And the women's golf team will start competition in the Annika Invitational in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Monday to Wednesday. So hopefully the Powden women will continue to show their strong performances in the past few years and continue on with their great play.
For those of you who are watching via the Facebook feed, by the way, I just put a link to the Amazon page where Warren Cromartie's book is, Slugging It Out in Japan. So you can go check that out if you'd like. And Warren, you can, if you make a few sales off of it, we'll take just a very small percentage of that.
There you go.
For the trouble. All right, now.
Trivia question.
Trivia.
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing, again, we're going to stay with Furman football.
Oh, you're going to go with Powden history here for today's question.
At Powden Stadium?
At Powden, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Excuse me. In Powden Stadium history, who has scored the most touchdowns in one game?
In Powden Stadium history.
Now, it could be a Powden or it could be an opponent. I don't know.
Okay. So it's not necessarily a Furman player.
Maybe not.
Well, you do know.
I do know.
Yeah.
But I'm being unknowing right now.
But you're just throwing out the
possibility.
The information being that it doesn't have to be a Furman player.
Yep. Any player.
Whoever has played on these hallowed grounds.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is the correct answer. Yep.
All right. So we'll see if anybody has the correct guess. You get your choice of an attaboy or a pat on the back if you do guess correctly, and we'll give you the answer at the end of the program. Obviously, we are focusing in on tomorrow's matchup after Furman got its first win of the season at Colgate last week, handily by a 45-14 score. They play an East Tennessee State team that they beat even worse in Johnson City a year ago. So you know that the Bucks are going to be coming here, stinging a little bit after that. They're going to be coming in riding quite a bit of momentum after their win over Mercer. But obviously the Paladins are going to be riding some positive momentum as well. But exactly who is this East Tennessee State team? Well, Forrest has a few little notes about them, right?
I sure do. You want to tell them now or wait till Jay Sandos? I can go and spit a few of them out right now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Jay will tell us what he wants us to know.
All right. Their quarterback. Excuse me.
Nothing says that we can't revisit these when we talk to Jay.
Fair enough. Austin Henrick. He threw for career-high 284 yards last weekend and completed passes to 11 different receivers. And in the comeback win, it was his 5th comeback in his career at ETSU. The Bucks are searching for their first SoCon road win since 2002. Daniel Weigel and River Boruff are tops on their team in tackles. They are 3rd and 5th, respectively, in SoCon in tackles per game. In their ETSU's 2 wins, they are averaging 383 yards per game. But in their 2 losses, they've only accumulated a total of 383 yards in both of those games. Let's see here. When they score 30 or more points, ETSU is 5-0 since 2015, and they've won the last 14 since scoring 30 or more. Their defense has at least 1 turnover in all 4 games this year and 9 straight dating back to last year. And last but not least, on September 30th, in ETSU Buccaneers football history, they are 0-6. So we have some juju on our side.
If nothing else, we have the on this date history.
Yeah, exactly.
Tomorrow,
no doubt.
I like it. We'll take anything and everything that we can get to our advantage.
That is correct.
Want to take just a moment to kind of summarize the biggest story that's going to be the ongoing biggest story for a long time.
Year or so, probably, unfortunately.
And that is, of course, the college basketball scandal and all of the information started to break during our show on Wednesday. On Tuesday, actually. We had a chance to talk to Dave Glenn about it on Wednesday. Got a really unique perspective from the mind of a federal investigator from Billy Davis yesterday. So here's kind of where everything is right now. The biggest headlines at the moment, the newest information, Oklahoma State has fired associate head coach Lamont Evans, who of course came from South Carolina. More about that in a moment. The Nike grassroots basketball division has been served with subpoenas by federal agents. And then, of course, on the show yesterday, we told you Rick Pitino was identified as Coach 2 mentioned in those federal court documents, and that he has, through his lawyers, fired back at Louisville and apparently intends to fight his firing, which means what they're actually doing, in my estimation, is starting to posture now to try and get negotiations underway over a settlement over that $44 million buyout that he is due. The other schools, or the schools that have been impacted by the investigation, include Alabama. Men's basketball administrator Kobe Baker resigned after athletic director Greg Byrne initiated an internal interview of its men's basketball program in response to the scandal. Miami, the president of the school, acknowledged that the basketball program is subject to the ongoing FBI investigation, and we've kind of talked about that. Another allegation of money being six-figure money being sent to a player's family. And, of course, Louisville is neck deep into it. Auburn is neck deep into it over Chuck Person. And then the other side of this story, you have head coach Bruce Pearl, who lost his job at Tennessee over a scandal and was slapped with a 3-year show cause by the NCAA because he lied about it and tried to get other people to lie about it.
Yep.
So you've got that specter hanging over Auburn as well. So much is going on at Auburn with that losing a high-profile recruit because of all this that they've offered to give refunds to season ticket holders.
Wow.
Arizona, assistant coach Emmanuel Book Richardson is accused of paying a player identified only as player 5 right now $5,000 in bribe money to sign with the Wildcats. He's been suspended with pay. Southern Cal assistant Tony Bland charged with conspiracy to commit bribery, soliciting a bribe, and wire fraud. He's been charged with providing $9,000 in cash payments to the family of 2 current Southern Cal players and has been suspended. 2 current Southern Cal players.
The knife just runs thicker and thicker, Dan.
Yeah, we mentioned Oklahoma State assistant coach Lamont Evans, accused of receiving at least $22,000 in bribe money to, quote, exert his influence over certain student athletes, unquote, at Oklahoma State and South Carolina. Yep. And then, of course, that puts South Carolina right in the crosshairs as well. And then they got the list of the other individuals who are impacted, from Jim Gatto, the director of Adidas's global sports marketing, to Merle Code, who left Nike for Adidas. He's the former Clemson point guard. Christian Dawkins, former NBA agent. Jonathan Brad Augustine, president of the League Initiative, which is an Adidas-sponsored program. Financial advisor Munish Sood, and Rashawn Michael, representative of Thompson Bespoke Clothing and a former NCAA referee. He is most closely associated with dealing with Chuck Person at Auburn. So that's a snapshot of where we are right now, and the investigation is ongoing. And will continue to be ongoing for quite a while.
10, 15, even 20, 30 schools to be hit by this, I think, Dan. This is just going to, with Adidas, kind of the umbrella factor here. I'm not sure how many Adidas schools there are in the country, but will be quite close to 100 or so, maybe even 150 that might get at least investigated, if not hit with scandals. So, well,
we obviously all we can do is watch and see. I just saw, I think it was CBSSports.com this morning, where someone had written a column, and all I saw was the headline because I was doing something else. But it's something that I've said, I can't tell you how many times when I was on the air at Clemson, when, a school, be it Clemson or South Carolina or anybody, would do something, like the self-reporting of the minor violations that every school does, or getting, like seemingly every school in the SEC has in the last 10 years, being put on probation for one thing or another, or a player getting arrested or something along those lines. I have said so many times what the headline in that column said: don't laugh, because your school could be next.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And it generally centered around players getting in trouble when I was on the air at Clemson, players being arrested or getting caught doing things they shouldn't do that led to some legal issues. And I always said that, don't laugh.
You never know when it's going to be you. Yeah.
Because it's not your school could be next. Eventually it is going to happen to your school. Now, this maybe is a little different, but the point is the same. Right now, if my school is not being mentioned, I would tread lightly, hold my breath, and thank the good Lord that continues.
Especially if I'm an Adidas school, too.
Yeah.
If I'm one of those, man, I'm definitely treading on thin water, if you will. So
I think Paul Johnson may have had one of the best lines, and I can't remember he's with Georgia Tech's with Russell Athletic.
Okay.
And Paul Johnson yesterday, and I'm no Paul Johnson fan, but he does speak his mind. And he said yesterday, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, maybe for the first time, I'm glad we're with Russell Athletic.
Yeah, I completely agree
with everything
that.
that's happening with Adidas and now Nike being drawn into the fray as well. In any event, that's where that investigation stands right now. That's the latest information, and I found that all that information encapsulated on CBSSports.com. They've got that single page where they have all the headlines and all of the people and schools who are involved, and they're updating things on that page. So if you find that page and just continue to just bookmark it and continue to check it as events warrant, all the information will be put on that one page. It's really a great tool.
It's horrifying stuff, Dan. So this is gonna go on for a long, long time. So be prepared to take a knife to the chest, I guess, if you're a fan of a big-time college basketball program, because there will be some kind of allegations brought down on, I'd say, 95% of the top schools in college basketball, probably.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Well, you know what? There's one unmistakable, undeniable truth in all of this, that apparel companies and shoe companies are not lining up to make deals with broadcasters like me. So I'll never have to worry about that kind of scrutiny.
Yeah.
Personally.
They don't see your shoes on TV, Dan.
No, they certainly don't. All right, let's go to break. When we come back, we will visit with Jay Sandos, the play-by-play voice of East Tennessee State. And then after that, we'll get through Forest 3 Things, which is largely going to include a lot of college football stuff. This is the Dan Scott Show. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company, located at Cherrydale Plaza, just down the road from campus here in Greenville. They have a fantastic menu, and I'll remind you again, as the weather starts to turn cooler moving forward into the throngs of fall and even beyond, on those cool days when you're really looking for something hot to kind of you bring it all together. They've got hot soups, hot chili, warm paninis. They've got everything you need, and the fresh baked goodies there. My goodness. Could spend an entire show just talking about those. They have also really stepped to the plate, again, pun intended, to give this show some solid financial footing to make it possible. I can't thank Jeff Massey enough for doing that. So stop by and see him and his folks at Atlanta Bread. Tell them you heard about him here. And as we go to break, here's a little bit more about him. The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to AtlantaBreadCompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. All right, welcome back to the program. As we continue here on this Friday edition of the show, Dan Scott and Forrest Stulting. You know, first of all, let me tell you about CPR Cell Phone Repair before I have some fun at my young friend's expense here, which I try to do at every waking turn that I get. But CPR Cell Phone, your cracked and busted cell phone screen is no joke. So go check out CPR Cell Phone Repair in Cherrydale Plaza. You see the number there on screen. If you have any questions, 282-9097, area code 864. They do iPhones usually in an hour. They actually got mine done in about 30 minutes. Any other phone, tablet, brand, make, model, almost everything they say they can do in the period of the same day. And then they also do computer and gaming system repairs, not just the screens, but they can replace hard drives as well. They sell refurbished tablets and phones. They sell brand new accessories for tablets and phones. They're under new ownership from Janet Culver, wonderful lady, and I would highly encourage you to go check them out today. Also, you can find them on Facebook at CPR Cell Phone Repair in Cherrydale, 282-9097. We are awaiting contact with Jay Sandos, so until we get that contact, we're going to proceed with Forrest's three things. And you know, we offered up last week the possibility of a new theme for Forrest, which, for some reason he's not a real fan of, and I can't imagine why. But I think I speak for a lot of. Are you a fan of or even old enough to have ever watched the Charlie Brown, the Peanuts cartoons?
I've seen a few episodes.
Okay. Do you know when the teacher talks to Charlie Brown?
I couldn't recall any circumstances that happen regularly on that show, so I'm not really.
Sometimes when you talk, this is what I hear.
You're not alone, Dan. You're not alone.
I'm sure your parents have said the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Many times.
Yep, they have walked out of my conversations numerous times.
Charlie Brown's teacher. That's
as
classic.
they should, though. They should.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go ahead and I know it wasn't your first thing, but piggybacking on the college basketball scandal, you've got a little note in one of your three things involving something Urban Meyer said, which I find very interesting and is very timely, considering what we just talked about, where Bruce Pearl, the head coach at Auburn, is concerned.
So Urban Meyer, he says that coaches that intentionally lie or pay a player or person, he says you should be out. You should be fired from the NCAA to never coach again. And he cites that if a player lies to the NCAA, they're done as well. And this is an important quote from Urban Meyer, too. I'm not talking about mistakes made when you have a rule book like this, which is extremely thick and heavy. But if you intentionally pay a guy money or willfully have a second cell phone to make illegal phone calls, you're done. You can never coach again. So he's talking about more of the bigger violations and not the small instances of just I'm not even sure what goes on behind the scenes, but just small instances of recruiting violations or just breaking the NCAA rules.
Mistakes are one thing. Willful intent is something else.
Exactly, yes.
And you know what? I would not have a problem if that were the case. And here's why. Because as we have discussed ad nauseum over the years with Dave Glenn, as he mentioned again on Wednesday, the NCAA does not have a lot of bullets in the old enforcement gun.
Yes.
Number one, their enforcement division is woefully understaffed, which is kind of mind-boggling if you consider the amount of money they're raking in just on the NCAA basketball tournament alone. And number two, they have no subpoena powers to force people outside of the umbrella of the NCAA to come and talk to them. Now, if you are an NCAA school and you work for an NCAA member school, then they can make you come and talk to them, but they can't make you tell them the truth. So I tell you what, I have to give this some serious thought from Urban Meyer, because if you are showing a willful intent to break the rules and then to cover up the rules by lying about it and encouraging other people to lie, as Bruce Pearl did, I can see where maybe in the landscape as it is now, that's something that should be considered.
Oh, it has to be considered.
Now, again, Pearl was given a 3-year show cause penalty by the NCAA. And if you're not familiar with that, that means that during that 3-year period, any school that wanted to hire him had to go before the NCAA and basically show good reasons why they should be allowed to hire him during that time period. And of course, he did not get the Auburn job until after that 3-year show cause period was done. Again, he lied about a serious violation and then got other people to lie about it as well to try and cover it up. So whether we're talking about the NCAA being more stringent with the show cause penalties, or whether we're talking about the drastic measures of being basically banned from coaching at the NCAA level for life, something has got to be done inside the framework of the NCAA that's got more teeth to it, because in this case, again, it's taken a 3-year investigation by the FBI, who has subpoena power, and as all the stuff Billy Davis told us yesterday, has wiretapping power, has all of these tools they can use to force people to talk to them, basically, that the NCAA has none of.
No, you're absolutely right, Tim. I mean, they just have nothing. They have no way of really going after these serious violations without having numerous mounds of evidence. And frankly, they don't have the resources to have those mounds of evidence. It's far and few between when the NCAA has the ability to really impose major violations on a team. And I think, in the nature of how valuable top recruits are now, you have to make things more at a more even level for everybody from top to bottom, because when you have these top tier programs, more than likely you're going out and paying players and paying people to get these guys to come to their programs for more than just one reason. You have to really kind of put a major clamp down on it to stop it, because it really does take the amateurism out of the game and the true reason why everybody likes college basketball, probably more than NBA, at least for a lot of fans out there.
And yet, as we talked about yesterday, a lot of this is due largely to the one and done rule being an NBA
I think it has
rule.
I think it has a huge factor in that, Dan, personally. But
it's so simple to me. The logic is so simple, and again, you get in trouble applying logic to an illogical situation. But the baseball model works so well.
Yes.
You know, it used to be I was not a fan of a kid going directly from high school to the NBA. I think we have seen some instances where there are some who can do it. Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett,
LeBron
James. Those are three that come to mind. And, of course, there have been some miserable failures.
Sebastian
and
Telfair.
that as well. Yeah. And you can go right on down the line. But the flip side of that, there are more opportunities for players to play professionally now if they don't want to go to college.
Yes.
Whether it's in the NBA Developmental League or whether it's going overseas and playing somewhere, there are options where there didn't used to be that many options before.
Mm-hmm.
The baseball model is, of course, you get drafted out of high school, and then you have a certain date that you either sign with your professional team and go into the minor leagues, or you have to enroll in school. And once you enroll in school, you're going to be there for 3 years before you can get drafted again. To me, that is the perfect model for the NBA and the NCAA to work with. The NCAA has no trouble with it as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. It works fine.
Yep.
The NBA could do it, but it is not perhaps the best monetary model for some of the players and for the NBA. So therefore, right now, the one and done rule is what we have.
I think the area where it could really benefit greatly is college basketball. You'll have more of these juniors and seniors stay for a couple of years, and the game might not be as flashy, but I think you have a much better basketball games going on in terms of fundamentals and skills and execution wise. So I think it would really benefit the college game again. But I think the main point here is these guys are student athletes, and if you're actually going to be a student athlete, you can't just go to school for 1 year and say you're done. That can't be the case, in my opinion. But so I think what needs to be done is that if you're going to go to college, you have to be there for at least 3 years, if not longer than that.
And again, college is not meant for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
And I'm living proof of that. The bottom line is, if a kid is good enough to go directly from high school to the NBA, then so be it. Let him go from high school to the NBA. If he thinks he's good enough and he gets drafted in the second round and doesn't sign or doesn't get drafted at all, but is still good enough to play at one of the lower leagues, you can make $40,000, maybe $50,000 a year playing in the NBA Developmental League.
That's respectable.
And make more than that if you're good enough to go overseas and play somewhere. If that's your thing, and if that's your thing, more power to you. But I agree. If you're going into college, you got to be there for at least 3 years, and that would solve some of these issues, where it may put the onus then, if that were to happen, to be quite honest with you, and who knows, we may find out it's happening already, is that now you're talking about players getting these kind of overtures from whether it's shoe companies or whoever while they're still in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And playing as even sophomores and juniors.
And something else that needs to be taken care of is all these elite showcases and these tournaments put on by these shoe brands. I think that needs to be taken away with it, and they don't need to be dealing if these high school and college players can't be considered professionals. And there's no reason that any shoe company should be associated with these kids at the high school level, because that is essentially getting rid of their amateurism title. So they're becoming professionals when they're playing for these Under Armours and these Nikes and these Adidas tournaments and leagues, essentially. So simple as that, Dan. So you need to cut out the easy path for these big companies to reach these high school kids.
Well, we need to pause in the conversation and head to the celebrity guest line. A guy who is certainly talented enough to have an apparel company come calling at his doorstep, but like most of us broadcasters, will never see that kind of free stuff. Jay Sandos is the very fine play-by-play voice of the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. They will be making an appearance here at Paladin Stadium for the first time since the early 2000s when they visit here tomorrow, and we are going to talk some college football with the silky smooth voice of the ETSU Bucks. Jay, how are you, my friend?
Good. I'm going to need you to write all that up so I can get a new apparel deal is all I know.
Yeah, I'll act as your agent. We'll just have to get a financial advisor together and figure these things out.
Well, I only accept payments in nickels, so if you can get that done, it's a little less trackable, so we'll be good there.
Yeah, small unmarked change. Yeah, that's normally the way it works. Hey, if people were sleeping on this ETSU team coming into the season, I think last week may have gotten the attention of some folks with a very nice come-from-behind win in overtime over Mercer.
Yeah, I think the week before ETSU actually against the Citadel actually was able to come up with a stop. Actually had about an 8-minute drive, was able to score, make it a one-possession game against Citadel. Was actually had the ball with about 2.5 minutes to go in a timeout and just couldn't convert on a 4th and 1. And I think that the team that drive before seemed to have turned a corner. And I think you could tell because in the fourth quarter, they're down 2 scores and they're able to go right down and pick up the points that they need to force overtime. And then again, lucky enough to pick up the victory. And, ETSU's kind of been, a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde. Early last year, they were able to pick up a big win against Kennesaw State, who had pounded them by about 40 the year before. They beat Sanford. They won a few, and then ETSU is quite capable of coming out and getting blown off the field. And that happened a couple times last year. Surprising blowout loss to VMI. Furman came in 0-6 last year and really, took out every frustration they had of 0-6 on ETSU. I think they scored on the first eight possessions of the game. And same thing this year. They go to JMU, which is maybe a different animal than some of the other teams I mentioned, but certainly the start of the game didn't go well, and it snowballed from there. So it's hard to say which ETSU team in the first 3 years is going to come out, one that's kind of ready to play and going to be competitive, or is it going to be a team that things may not go their way early and then it just snowballs from there?
Well, one thing about it, you've got the same cast of characters, and they've been together now as this reboot of ETSU football has started. So they're growing together as a unit. That can only mean good things. The one thing that we're looking at here, if you look at just simply the stat sheet, Forrest brought this up a little while ago. It's been a team offensively that's been relatively one-dimensional, 81 yards a game on the ground, but doing most of the damage through the air.
And that's a little surprising. I thought, they made some growth, and, a lot of the offensive linemen are in their third year. One kid, Alex Rios, was preseason all-conference. He's the elder statesman. He was a junior college transfer last year, so he's a senior. Really thought, they would be able to get a few more yards on the ground, especially because they had such success on the ground against Mercer the previous season. I thought that would be a game they would have more success. I thought even Limestone, you step down to a Division II team. You would think you'd be able to get some more yards on the ground and what they're able to do. I think that's the most disappointing thing, because ETSU's really built off, like most teams, they're trying to throw off play action. They're trying to slow down the pass rush. Certainly the front four, JMU, the front four of the Citadel is a little bit different animal than what they saw against Mercer and Limestone, and what they'll see against Wofford, I'm sure. So I think if they continue to be that one-dimensional, it's certainly going to hurt them down the road. They've got to figure out the way to get yards. Now, the one good thing about Mercer was they didn't completely abandon the run as they have had a tendency to do the last couple of years. They still, even though if they weren't getting many yards, they were still trying to keep people honest with handing the football off to Jawan Stinson, who's been the starting tailback since the rebirth of ETSU football. Austin Herring does a great job of taking care of the football. He doesn't take many chances. But again, if you're stuck in a lot of 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 12s, it's because he doesn't take a lot of chances. And, the ETSU's conversion rate on 3rd down is not where they would like it to be. But certainly if you gave some true serum to Mike O'Kane, the first thing he would say is he'd like to be able to run the football a lot more efficiently.
Hey, Jay Forrest here. Your defense has been pretty impressive this year, and they're led by Dylan Weigel and River Boruff. And you've gotten at least one turnover in all 4 games this year and in 9 straight. So what can Paladin fans expect to see in terms of the Bucs defense come Saturday?
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see, because there's anytime you take on a new coach and a new scheme, and I know Clay Hendricks has been around the Southern Conference, with his days at Furman, player, coach, and quite some time. And then, ETSU actually had at one time Paul Hamilton, who was an Air Force offensive guru, and so some of the sets they ran, or what I've seen so far, reminds me of some of the late 90, early 2000 ETSU teams, and some of the things that Coach Hamilton used to do. But I think there's going to be some challenges because of the style that they bring. It's not a traditional option set that people think about. I think people always think Air Force is in the same boat as Navy and Army, that they're a lot more double slot, and but Air Force, they like to throw the football. They play a little faster. Same thing I've seen so far from Furman. They certainly, because of personnel, I'm sure some of that, because Blazkowski had been there. He's certainly a talented thrower. You got Gordon, who's a speedster, certainly can get behind the defense and take the top off. I think the challenge for Billy Taylor and the defense coordinator for ETSU is, Furman pretty much runs everything out of the same looking set, so they don't tip anything off of when they're going to throw it, when they're going to power run it. ETSU, they put in the fullback, you pretty much know 90% of the time they're going to run the football. So there's nothing like that so far, I think, that the Bucs have saw on film that kind of tipped their hand. So you've got to be a little bit in a base defense, a little bit vanilla, maybe in some of the calls, because you're not sure if you're going to run it, you're going to throw it. The one thing about Boruff and Weigel, they like to play downhill against the run, and if Furman can get some key passing plays early, I think that would make it very difficult on ETSU come Saturday.
Jay, the one thing that the coaching staff here has talked about with us kind of goes along with what you're saying there. Not only do they run or can run anything out of the same set or the same look, but they do it with the same personnel as well, the same personnel packages. So that's the goal with this offense, and it's a work in progress, obviously. But when and you've been doing this a long time, when you can run multiple plays out of the same set with the same personnel and not have to make those wholesale changes, you can be a nightmare for a defensive coordinator.
Right, and in most nowadays, it's not, there's so many sub packages nowadays. It didn't used to be. Pretty much teams were in a base, either 3-4, 4-3, or whatever terminology you want to use on a odd man, even man front, whatever. But you really saw sort of the base, and then maybe 3rd down and long, you might see an extra DB here or there come out. Nowadays, people are just changing literally personnel groups, and ETSU will do it. They'll change personnel groups every play. I mean, you'll see a bunch of guys run in, a bunch of guys run out, and they're trying to get you kind of making changes on the fly. Maybe they get a mismatch, but from what I've seen so far, and talking to Billy Taylor yesterday in our coordinator segments I record, I mean, he was just impressed the fact that they don't do that. It's literally, whatever they start the series with is pretty much who's out there the whole time. and they run everything out of everything. So, he's a little concerned on some of the specialty groupings that they may run in and run out. Either A, you don't have time to do that, because if they're not making substitutions, then certainly, the referees don't have to slow the game down for defensive substitutions. That's concern one. And then the other thing, again, if you're running all your pass plays and run plays of the exact same look, and the fact, Air Force and Furman so far this year, I've seen 3rd and long where they ran an option play. They're not necessarily locked into throwing the football in the 3rd and situation. Same thing, some short yard situations, they've thrown the football. So they've kept other teams off balance, and I think it will be a little bit of a headache for Billy Taylor. And I think there is advantages to defensive coordinators. Like last week, he's gone against Bobby Lamb, when he was at Furman, back when Coach Taylor was defense coordinator here at ETSU. He was defense coordinator at Chattanooga, spent some time at Wofford. He'd seen Bobby Lamb enough to know about every trick Bobby Lamb's going to throw at him, and including 2 game tapes against ETSU the 2 previous years. But this is a whole different animal going into it blind. I think the advantage would be the offense in a situation like that, or at least in my eyes, it would be you could have an advantage. Again, maybe he doesn't have the right personnel grouping or personnel people running stuff that he would like to run when it's going full steam. He's been there for a few years, but I think certainly I would give a check mark to an offense, and not just in this situation, any situation, I would give a check mark to an offense that's built like that going up against the defense.
Austin Hendrick, he threw for a career-high 284 yards last week and completed passes to 11 different receivers. So it kind of sounds like y'all have a number of weapons on offense as well.
Coach O'Kane is a firm believer, and that's our offense coordinator, Mike O'Kane, used to be the head coach at NC State. He does not believe in, I've got to get this guy so many touches or this guy so many touches. He doesn't call a lot of plays based off anything. And he basically believes whatever the look the defense is, then we're going to throw to what the best look for us is. And so the pre-snap read is very important in his offense and very important for Austin Herrick, who now is in his 3rd year, looks a lot more comfortable back there. I think Coach O'Kane would like him to take a few more chances down the field just to stretch the defense a little bit. But I think Herrick, he takes care of the football, doesn't make many mistakes. If somebody is running down the field, and they're open, he'll give it to them. But he's not one to really force a lot into tight windows. But the big thing is, if a guy is open, it doesn't matter who he is. Coach O'Kane wants you to hit the open man, and just that style. We have 14 receivers that will be dressed out the day of the game, and at least 12 or 13 of them will be on the field in some form or fashion. So sometimes you like continuity between people. Coach O'Kane is more about, if you can't focus in on one receiver, you got to focus in on all the receivers. And so that's sort of his philosophy and why that broke down to that many receivers. I think he had completed in the first half to 9 different receivers. So certainly Austin's not afraid to throw it around and make sure everybody gets a touch if they're open.
So the play-by-play guy for the opposing team has to rely heavily on his spotter for a lot of help if you're using that many receivers, Jay. That's just ridiculous. Stop that, would you please? Jay Sandos.
Oh, no. It's awful, too, because with our new jerseys, too, there's a lot of 80 numbers that all look the same, just the way the 8s are made. So especially when you get number 80, Hunter White, and number 88, Richburg, and 89, Spagnoletti, they're all out there at the same time. It's very difficult to see who's doing what. So
wonderful. We can look forward to that tomorrow, too.
You certainly, on offense especially. They'll roll out a couple. You won't see probably the receivers out for more than 2 plays in a row. Mm-hmm. The same grouping of receivers, and they'll come in and out. Got some tight ends. So yes, it's taken me a while, Dan. Matter of fact, it's taken me going to practice a lot this year to try to figure out certain groupings. I figured out who runs out where, but other than that, yes, it is very difficult, and I'm very glad that most of the teams we have played literally rotate a number 1 set of receivers, a number 2 set of receivers, and that'll do it. And it looks like Furman's done that for me, so I appreciate that.
Hey, Jay, before we let you go, when we played up there last year, of course, we played at Science Hill High School. The new Palace is open. Is that correct? And tell us about it.
That's a beautiful, beautiful stadium, $26 million. I would have bet a lot of money, Dan, and lost that it would not be open in time, but they did a phenomenal job in a little less than 19 months from when they broke ground to finishing the completion. It's about 7,600 seats, 3 levels of press box, a club level, a sky box, and then the press level on the 3rd floor. It's got a grassy knoll in one end zone where fans bring blankets. It's kind of nestled in, so when you're in the stands, you'll come in on the concourse level, and every step you take is a step closer to the field. We do not have a track around the field, so you're that much closer. They also build it in a way where if you're on the goal lines, there's a curvature built into the stands so that you have a better angle at the other sideline. Just a beautiful stadium and a far cry from when you used to make the trip and climb up to the top of the mini dome, which, by the way, did not have an elevator. And Dan, we do have an elevator in this one for you.
Well, you know what? I was never fortunate enough to see a game of any kind in the mini dome. I guess I could say I'm fortunate to have not been there, but I kind of would have liked to have seen something there. But
well, it's still here, Dan. If you want me to walk you in here, I'll show you what it looks like.
I'll be busy, but thank you for the invitation. Hey, Jay, man, thank you for the time, and look forward to talking to you when you get here on Saturday, buddy.
Dan, I always appreciate it, man. I look forward to seeing beautiful Paladin Stadium. I actually was there the first day you guys opened up the new press boxes against Elon, I think 2013. Hunter Reed allowed me to come up there, and we actually used my sketches and drawings from your press box, one of the 3 press boxes, to use as a barometer for what we did at ETSU. So we've taken some things that Furman's done well and try to implement it at our house as well.
Sounds like a plan. We'll see you Saturday, my friend.
All right, Dan. See you, man.
All right, that is Jay Sandos, the play-by-play voice of East Tennessee State University. Let's take a break. We'll come back and have 6 or 7 minutes to get through the college football stuff, maybe a few baseball notes. I know Forrest's not going to go a day without a note or 3 on the game of baseball.
4 or 5.
Or 4 or 5, yes. Just remember.
That's fine, Dan. That's fine. There are people who enjoy it.
Oh, and I enjoy it as well. You know me, I'm a baseball fan. As we go out, just remember our friends at Hall's Chop House, the Greenville Steakhouse. Steaks are phenomenal. The entire menu is fantastic, and they have plenty of room for your Christmas party, your corporate event, your private get-together, whatever it is, they can handle it. Conveniently located in downtown Greenville. Check out Hall's Chop House, open for dinner every evening. And if you're in the Charleston area, visit the original Hall's Chop House. All right, to that break, and we'll come back and wrap up the show after this. Don't go away.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimmented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. .10:54 and down the stretch we come. Final segment of the show. Final segment of the week. You know, we talk all the time about the folks who are on Facebook Live, but got a bunch of people who've tuned in on Periscope, which is Twitter's platform as well, all the way back to Mike, JR, William, and Clyde. Hello, Clyde. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us, Steve, and some folks whose name I can't pronounce, but I did find out that the greeting they were giving us is Turkish. So
beautiful.
They're watching from the country of Turkey as
Teşekkürler.
That
means thank you in Turkish,
yes,
actually.
Well, there you go. Soccer 75 has just joined Mike Murky. So thank you guys for tuning in and help spread the word about the show. All right, more things.
Yes, college football, 3 games to watch this weekend. Number 5, USC travels to number 16, Washington State. I think the Trojans will win this one. There's going to be a lot of passing yards. The Cougars are 4-0 for the first time since 2001. USC has won 13 straight, second longest active streak in the country. And the key here is the Trojans need to get to a good start. They've been down the past few weeks, late in the fourth quarter, and then Sam Darnold has made a miraculous comeback. But I think this week they need to kind of get things going early with a pretty heavy offense on the Washington State side with Mike Leach leading it all. Their head coach.
I wonder if the 13-year streak comes to an end.
Well, no, it's not 13 years. It's 13 straight games they've won. USC. It's a winning streak from this year and last year.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I got you. I misheard you.
Excuse me. As we all know from the there you go. Yep.
It's probably more what's in my ears, but I can see Washington State winning this game.
I don't see it, Dan. I just don't see it. I think what Washington State has seen so far in terms of defenses will not compare to USC's, and they will be swamped from the very beginning.
We'll see. I didn't say they would. I said I can see
fair enough.
that they would.
Absolutely.
I can see that they could.
Game 2, Mississippi State travels down to number 13, Auburn. The Bulldogs need a big bounce-back win here after being trounced by the Georgia Bulldogs last week, and I think the Tigers' offense will struggle again this week after kind of having their show out last week against Missouri, but is Missouri a pretty weak defense, and I think Mississippi State will come back into win, and Nick Fitzgerald will have a great game, and the Bulldogs will prevail down in Starkville.
I could see that. I'll take Mississippi State over Auburn.
All right. I think
I'm going to back up. I'm going to take Washington State.
Oh man, he's making a stance.
Over USC. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm going to take the upset.
Check this tape on Monday, folks.
10:57.
Yeah, there you go.
On Friday.
And then number 2, Clemson travels to number 12, Virginia Tech. This is reminiscent of the Auburn game. Going to be low scoring. Bud Foster and a lot of defense here. But I think Beamer ball will still prevail, and the Hokies will beat the Tigers.
Clemson has not lost a true road game in, I want to say, almost 3 seasons.
That's pretty impressive, Dan.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
Pretty impressive.
And they're not going to lose this one.
But like all things, they must come to an end.
Not going to lose this one. The only way they lose this one is if it's a close game and comes down to the need for a kicker to win it. With Hugel being out with the torn ACL, that obviously could be a major issue. I just look, Clemson's defense is too good. Defense travels. They're not going to be intimidated by Virginia Tech's environment. Clemson wins the game and probably wins it by 10 or more.
Oh, wow. Just a couple games to note about some upset alerts. I think number 7, Georgia, goes to Tennessee this weekend. I think the Vols really need this big win right here. John Kelly will likely have a big game this week. He's already leads the SEC in yards per game at the running back position. And I think Fromm will fumble in the his first start in Knoxville. So this is a big. I'm not sure if this is going to happen, but it's a big going on a limb.
So you're taking Tennessee.
For some reason, I'm going to.
Is it in Knoxville?
It is in Knoxville.
Okay, so at least they've got that going for them.
And I think that the Bulldogs will kind of
here's the thing. I really want to take Tennessee in this game. But I'm having a hard time with Butch Jones.
Their offense is just atrocious.
I'm having a really hard time with him because he made a statement, apparently, and I saw it on Twitter this morning, made a statement that the last 2 seasons of Tennessee football have been the best that they've had in the last 20 years.
Do they know Peyton Manning was there? Or does he know that?
Yeah. I'm just telling you that's the statement that he made. So I don't know if Butch is feeling well.
I don't think
quite honestly.
He's probably trying to vie for his job. Is what he's trying to do.
So man, this is going to be like the second time I've taken Georgia, and I don't really have any love for the Georgia Bulldogs. I just don't see Tennessee winning this game. By the way, you know how to get a Georgia grad off your front porch?
Bark at him.
Pay for the pizza.
There you go.
So, adapt that to your own school's biggest rival if you want to. I got to go with the Bulldogs here.
Nah, I think the only way this could be an upset is the Bulldogs are kind of a little weary of last week's big win against the other Bulldogs in the SEC, and the bright lights of Knoxville Stadium kind of shines too bright for Jake Fromm.
All right. So we differ on that one.
Yeah, and FSU goes to Wake Forest. I think the Noles will struggle with the Noles do struggle with running the ball, and that'll put more pressure on James Blackman. He didn't do so bad last week, but I think with a pretty dynamic offense, the Deacs have a pretty balanced attack. When John Wolford can run and pass the ball, their quarterback has now thrown an INT in 4 games this year. He's just a great overall athlete. So look for Wolford and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons to beat Florida State, and they'll go 0-3.
So you are buying the Wake Forest 4-0 Kool-Aid right now.
Oh, big time. I mean, with a name like Wake Forest, you have to, right?
Well, no.
Coming from my perspective.
You absolutely don't. You don't have to.
There you go.
Sometimes I wish you were a Wake Forest. I still think Florida State is an immensely talented team.
Oh, I do too.
They obviously have some offensive issues. There's no question about that. And Wake Forest, Dave Clawson has done a marvelous job there. He really, really has. I just don't see it. And I'll be honest with you. This is one that I want to pull the trigger on, but just something won't let me. I'm thinking that Florida State's defense is going to win the day in this one.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. I just think Wake Forest is too good on offense, and the Florida State's defense will be out there for too long, and the Demon Deacons offense will wear down the Noles defense.
Well, we've got some time. Was that your last game?
Yes, it was.
Was that your last? So
yep.
Review the games while I'm looking up something here
very
quickly.
Georgia travels to Tennessee this weekend, as well as
I took Georgia.
Number 5 USC travels to 16 Washington State.
I'm taking the upset, taking Washington State to win that one.
Number 24 Mississippi State travels to 13 Auburn, and number 2 Clemson travels to Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. One of the hardest places to win a game.
I'm taking Clemson there. All right, this is what I wanted to look at. You're talking about the vaunted Wake Forest offense, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Well, they've played Boston. They've played Boston College. They've played.
Well, it played Clemson pretty good too.
They've played Utah State. They've played Appalachian State.
They're a decent team.
No
Power 5 with the SEC defense.
And they've played Presbyterian.
Yeah. They've all blown out all those teams.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they really haven't faced a staunch defensive challenge with the possible exception of Boston College.
And they handled them quite well.
34-10.
Yeah.
On the road, and that's a
it's more impressive than what Clemson did last weekend.
That's a decent win, but you also have to know about the history of the Clemson Boston College series. It's not just as black and white as
how long does that
score.
go back? Because Boston College has not been a long-time ACC member.
Well, they've been there. This will be the 13th consecutive season.
All right, well, it's nothing like something going back 30, 40, 50 years.
And BC's 1-7. I mean, 1-3, and Wake Forest is 4-9. I mean, I see where you're coming from.
Sure, yeah.
All I'm saying is that the quality of overall competition that Wake Forest has faced does not lead me to believe that offense is totally legit yet. It's good, but I'm not about to take the step and say that it's very good and certainly not great.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very good for sure, Dan. Even if they haven't played these daunting opponents, they've really shine bright in all these games. They have not fumbled at all, essentially. So I think with almost a mere perfect ledger.
Yeah.
So,
And you talk about Clemson and Boston College last week. Clemson was its own worst enemy in that game. It turned it over 4 times. Otherwise,
did they turn it over? Did Boston College force the turnovers?
No, they turned it over. Clemson turned it over. Bottom line is they turned it over 4 times and they still won 34-7.
Yeah.
So,
but half their yards have come in the fourth quarter.
So
they won. They won.
Do they
looked impressive.
Do they play 60 minutes or do they play 45 minutes?
They play 60 minutes, Dan.
There you go.
But I'm saying the way Wake Forest handled BC is a lot more impressive than the way Clemson handled BC.
Right, you could make that argument, and you could also say that that's not the case. But anyway,
that's true.
Let's see what happens. I'm thinking that Florida State's defense will be their biggest test through their first 5 games.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I completely agree with that for sure. Yeah.
If
I just think they will pass this test with flying colors.
If they roll up 400 yards of offense against Florida State's defense,
okay,
all right, then let's have the conversation.
All right, I'll be looking for that stat line come Saturday night.
They gave up in their game against Appalachian State last week. They only quote unquote gained 344 yards and gave up 495. They won the game.
Yeah,
but they only put up 344 yards of offense on the road against App.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I don't know that they're going to do much better than that, if at all, against Florida State.
It's a road game, so you gotta put that of note as well.
It's a home game for Wake.
Well, no, I'm saying against App State last weekend. Yeah.
Well, again, we'll find out.
No doubt. Yep.
Trivia question answer?
Yeah, I just want to say a couple baseball things real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, hurry up.
The Indians won their 100th game for the 3rd time in history. Stanton has hit 59 home runs. Is the 6th player to do that, the first since Barry Bonds in 2001. The Cubs clinched the NL Central 2 nights ago, so that's back-to-back NL Central titles and their 3rd consecutive postseason appearance, and it's our first of that nature since 1906 and 1908. So Cubs fans, don't hold your breath for playoff appearances in the future. The Twins clinched their first playoff since 2010, and it's the first team to make the playoffs after suffering more than 100 losses the year prior. So pretty good job by Paul Mauldin and his staff this year to kind of bring the young Twins back to it.
It's good stuff. All right, so the trivia question was focusing on Paladin Stadium history.
Yep. Paladin Stadium history.
Who has scored the most touchdowns in a single game in Paladin Stadium history? And Forrest tried to maybe throw you off kilter a little bit by saying it didn't necessarily have to be a Furman player. But I'm guessing it was a Furman player.
It is a Furman player. That is correct.
Okay.
Amani Edwards did score 6 touchdowns, and Scott Riddle had 6 for Elon. But Chris Fortier, he had 8 touchdowns in a game against Presbyterian in 2011, 7 passing and 1 rushing.
So touchdowns accounted for.
Yes, touchdown responsibilities.
Yeah, I called that game.
Yeah, 2011. Yeah. That would be him. Is that your first year here, right?
2011. That was my first year.
So your second home game, I guess. So
yeah, remember it well. That was a big day for the Paladins. All right, that's going to do things for us.
Willie Mays made his amazing grab in 1954 on this date.
Yeah.
The Giants
saw that this
and
morning.
the Dodgers played their last games in New York in 1957. The Expos announced they're moving to Washington in 2004. And 1934, Babe Ruth hits his last home run, and number 60 in 1927 will be tomorrow. So a couple Babe Ruth home runs.
Hit his last home run as a New York Yankee.
Yes.
Because he did hit a few as a member of the Boston Braves.
Excuse me,
next year.
That is correct. Yep.
Matter of fact, I believe his last home run was the 3rd of a 3 home run game in 1935, and then he walked away. So,
good stuff.
All right, that now will do it for us. We will be back with you on Monday. As far as the Furman ETSU game is concerned, we will encourage you. It's on ESPN3 with Bob Mahalik, Sam Weiss, Scott Cole on the sidelines. Of course, we'll have the radio call for you on Fox Sports 1440 on our campus FM and online and at the TuneIn app in various and sundry locations. And on Facebook, for the second straight week. You'll be able to hear the radio call and have booth cam.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was a lot of fun last week.
Yeah, it was. It was, and actually got a better angle in our booth where people actually be able to see the actual pointing to the spotting boards and some of the other things that are going on. So all that is tomorrow, and then we'll be back to recap the entire weekend on Monday morning. Until then, for Forrest, I'm Dan, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.
There are balls coming from all over the place.